Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, From Silos to Seamless, Accelerate Legal Collaboration with iManage and Microsoft 365. We're excited to have you all with us today. I'm Lisa Stone from the Stone Consulting Team, and joining me is Raghav Yaganathan from the imDocShare team. Raghav, I spend a lot of time speaking to legal firms and legal departments about their data. Some common challenges that I hear across the industries are data sprawl, document collaboration, and information silos. Let's talk about how imDocShare can help.
Great question, Lisa. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining here. My name is Raghav Jaganathan. From a data sprawl perspective, we at imDocShare, our core goal from day one has been to kind of bring iManage content where work happens. So we believe that Microsoft 365 ecosystem of services, from Teams to SharePoint through to OneDrive, basically the idea behind imDocShare was to bring iManage content where work happens in those applications, from Teams to SharePoint to OneDrive. So our journey started with iManage way back in 2020, where we started integrating with SharePoint, which still today is the number one collaboration platform from an intranet, extranet perspective for law firms. Our journey started there, where we started integrating iManage content in those SharePoint pages, basically our intranet, extranet portal. And very quickly, we launched our Teams app and our Sync app that lets you not only view content in Teams, iManage content in Teams, but also synchronize content, bringing iManage collaborative content basically to co-author or to create or update those content exactly where teams are collaborating, which is in Microsoft Teams.
Yeah, Raghav, that's an interesting point you're making because, you know, Teams has revolutionized how many people work today. Can you show us how imDocShare automation can automate the migration of files and Teams into iManage?
Absolutely. So before I do a quick demo, one of the key things to take away from an iManage to Microsoft Teams sync is that we are the only sync tool in the market that supports iManage work server and cloud synchronization, respecting access control lists like permissions, SPM, if you're using iManage walls for restricting access to certain workspaces, and basically replicating the structure that you have in iManage in Teams with all the security in mind. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you a quick demo of that integration. So imDocShare Sync is a software that can deploy both on-prem and hosted by us. So we have firms that use imDocShare Sync in different modes. For example, some firms like hosting it themselves. Some firms like us to host the service. Regardless, what you're looking at here is our imDocShare Sync hosted service. And we have many different sync types. We have the one we are talking about here is, let's say, a bi-directional Teams iManage sync type. And just to kind of click on that again, you can see the number of sync types that we have in our software, from SharePoint to Teams to OneDrive to Network Share to iManage itself. You can synchronize within iManage. For the purpose of this demo, we're going to do a bi-directional sync between Teams and iManage. And when you select the sync type, you have the ability to control the frequency of the sync, how often the sync runs. 30 seconds is the min, but you can maximize it to X number of hours or minutes. As mentioned before, you also have the ability to copy, permission copy is implicit. Metadata, for example, you have the ability to copy metadata from iManage directly into Teams. Like, for example, if you have client matter metadata, practice metadata, author, whatever the metadata columns you might want to bring it into Teams for searching and finding information better. We're not going to do that at this point, just going to say no. And update date timestamp lets you basically copy, document, modified date, and created date and modified by and created by the date timestamp fields into Teams so they can preserve that key metadata on the document. And you can see here how a sync tool is just seamless. You're just selecting stuff. You're not copying and pasting complex JSON code and all that technical stuff. It's really designed for a power user to create a sync job. So I'm going to go ahead and select one of my teams here. And automatically, as soon as you select the team, it queries the channels in the team. And it asks me which channel you want to synchronize with. So I'm just going to go ahead and synchronize with the channel here called General. And I'm going to create a folder here called Teams IM Demo. And let's just use that folder for synchronizing content from iManage. Awesome. On the iManage side, I have a workspace selected. I have a folder within the workspace selected. And I'm just going to go into a one more specific subfolder. You can see here that you can go in N folders deep and select your content all the way at a granular document level. Some of the competitors you can't do that. With our software, you can. You have the ability to go N level deep into a folder structure like right now, and I can select one or all the documents in here. So in this case, I'm just going to select all. So that's it. So just like that, I can set up a sync job. Now the sync job is running behind the scenes. And it runs at the frequency you've set, like 30 seconds, whatever the frequency you've set. And you now have the ability to basically have a no-worry scenario where the sync job will automatically synchronize the content from iManage to Teams, and whatever content is in Teams to iManage. Teams can collaborate, co-author, create content in Teams in the channel, and that automatically will get copied into iManage, respecting permissions and security in Teams to iManage, and vice versa. So while we wait for this job to run, we'll keep moving in the presentation. We'll come back and check on that later.
Okay.
Let me go back to the presentation. Yeah.
So, Raghav, do we want to ask a couple of poll questions while we wait for that sync? Is it a good time? What do you think?
Absolutely, yeah. Let's open up. Let's hear from the audience on what sort of challenges they're having with Teams and synchronization with iManage, if they are doing something like that today. Yeah. So
Awesome.
We'll open a couple of poll questions. If you can please respond back to those questions while we continue here.
So, Raghav, I'm seeing version, history preservation, link-based document access. Those seem to be popular in the results of the poll. The question being, which imDocShare sync feature would most improve your document management between Microsoft Teams and iManage? So it looks like link-based document access and version history preservation are the two most popular responses.
That's awesome. Yeah. So version control is at the heart of everything that we do here at imDocShare Sync. At no given point, you lose any version on either direction. So version controls becomes even more important when you think about bidirectional. So let's say your collaboration starts in iManage, where you start creating the document in iManage, you create a byproduct, you check it in, and the synchronization process, obviously, as I showed you in the Teams sync, automatically synchronizes that into Teams. Now, your team, your attorneys love Teams and they work in Teams. They use the collaborative feature, the co-authoring features in Teams. When they co-author the document using the Office 365 native co-authoring toolsets, which is simply awesome, we automatically make sure that those co-authored documents, the documents that are being currently co-authored in Teams, which is automatically checked out from a Teams perspective, we propagate that into iManage. We also make sure that any versions created in Teams, like for example, when co-authoring is completed, we call it major version in SharePoint Teams lingo. We automatically copy that latest version into iManage and we increment the version by 1. So you never lose any changes that you had in iManage. So the version now becomes version 2 in iManage. So, and the same thing applies to iManage. If I check out the document in iManage and I work on the document in iManage, we propagate the checkout into Teams. So which means that users can continue working on iManage, create the version, and the version automatically increments in Teams the next time the version is published. So version control is something that we handle really well in imDocShare Sync.
Terrific. What about link-based document access? Do you want to speak a bit to that?
Absolutely, yeah. So one of the key features of imDocShare Sync that we believe we do have a very unique feature is the ability to post links. So basically copy a document from iManage into Teams or SharePoint as a linked document. So the document, so some firms we work with, they're very particular about documents not leaving iManage. So, but they still want to share that content with their users, noting that those users are licensed users of iManage. So what you can do here is with our imDocShare Sync, you can simply synchronize a link to that file into the Teams channel, which means that when users click on that link, they open up the document in Work 10 or Work Web, depending on whether you have client or web access. You automatically open the document in the native application, or you will open that in the web browser. So we call this linked document sync. I'll show you when I do the demo on SharePoint.
Excellent. Excellent. Let's see. The other question, the other popular answer was metadata and permission sync. I didn't know if you wanted to hit that one as well, Raghav.
Absolutely, yeah. So as I showed you during my demo but during my introduction, metadata is an option that you get when you start and set up the synchronization process. And you have the ability to map metadata columns from iManage into SharePoint/Teams. So I'll show you an example when I'll show you the SharePoint Sync demo. So you have the ability to pick and choose what metadata columns in iManage maps to what metadata columns in SharePoint and vice versa. Permissioning is implicit, which means that we make sure that any permissions that you have in iManage is automatically propagated in Teams and vice versa, including SPM if you guys are using iManage wall solution. Okay.
Are we ready for the demo of the Teams integration now, Gav? Should we start that?
Yeah, I think the Teams integration demo, as I started before, should be almost done. So it's let's do a refresh here. You can see here, while we were talking, it went ahead and synchronized the content for me from that location into that location in iManage. Let's have a look at the location in iManage, and you'll see that the documents automatically got synchronized from that Teams location here, and these documents would also gotten synchronized into the team. So how do I know that? Because automatically can see the sync status is completed, and we have a sync date, and also see there is an in progress status right now because the job is in a loop. It's because it's supposed to run in a recursive loop because we said every 30 seconds, right? With our sync job, you also have the ability to have logs. So you can monitor logs in terms of something fails, and you want to know what failed, at what point it failed, and so on. You automatically get an email alert from the application as well.
Awesome. Okay, so let's talk about SharePoint. How can you sync my SharePoint into iManage with imDocShare?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, so SharePoint, as I said before, SharePoint is still a very dominant technology platform for law firms. Law firms love SharePoint. They say that close to 80 of the AM100 use SharePoint primarily for the intranet, and a lot of them are using extranet capabilities of SharePoint as well now with Azure, Entra, and so on. So even more reason why imDocShare Sync for SharePoint or iManage and SharePoint Sync becomes more relevant, because with imDocShare Sync, especially if you are sharing content with clients, vendors, partners through your extranet portal, or if you're trying to share content with users who don't have access to iManage. We see a bunch of corporate legal customers, prospects here. who want to share content with people who want to who don't have access to iManage. So in those instances, how do you handle that? So we basically focus on imDocShare sync and with SharePoint in mind, bidirectional. So let me show you an example of that. So
Great.
So before we had the create job, if you remember, and during the create job process, I had the option of basically having a number of sync types. One of the sync types I had was a bidirectional SharePoint iManage sync type. So the bidirectional SharePoint iManage sync type, I have the ability to push content from iManage into SharePoint and vice versa, right? So, and SharePoint, by the way, our sync tool, we support SharePoint on-prem because they're still on-prem customers and iManage on-prem. So, or it could be a combination of on-prem iManage, SharePoint online, or it could be a combination of SharePoint online, iManage on-prem. So we support all those permutation combination, including .work cloud iManage, cloud iManage, and obviously iManage work on-prem, right? So here I'm going to go ahead and select bidirectional. You can see here a copy metadata columns came up. So I'm just going to show you an example of how this works. But before I start my column mapping, I'm just going to go ahead and select my SharePoint site that I want to synchronize with and connect. And on the iManage side, I'm going to go ahead and pick my workspace that I want to synchronize with. And I'm going to go ahead and go into this folder that I have a bunch of documents that I want to synchronize with. And on the SharePoint side, I'm just going to go ahead and pick a folder here called SPIM bidirectional. Now, as I picked all these different sources, notice how I have this button called columns list because I have the copy metadata as yes. So this is one of the questions that was asked during the poll. When I click on that, notice how I'll automatically get a column mapping window come up. The column mapping window tells me, okay, you know what? These are the columns in iManage and these are the columns in SharePoint. And I have the ability to pick and choose my columns that I want to map from iManage to SharePoint and vice versa. So if there's a column that does not map in SharePoint, I can simply select new column and I can select my iManage column that I have one of these columns and I can simply add. So using this approach, I can bring in custom metadata columns that I have in iManage into SharePoint and any metadata columns that I have in SharePoint into iManage. I'm going to exit this, just say no for now. Metadata columns, when you ship metadata columns, you also want to, often I get asked this question, what about document date timestamps? Well, we already handled that. So we handled that as part of this dropdown that is called update date timestamp. So you can bring in the modified date, the created by, modified by, automatically from either direction.
And that's just a yes, no, right, Raghav? That's just a yes, no checkbox.
It is a yes, no. So yeah, correct. Yeah. So if you say yes, it automatically preserves all the metadata columns in related to date timestamp in iManage and SharePoint when it copies that over, right? So
and I also see another option for permissions. I'm assuming that's the same.
It's the same, yeah. Correct. Awesome. Yeah. So yeah, for our SharePoint customers, the reason why we give that option in SharePoint and not give that option in Teams is for reasons, as I said before, our SharePoint use cases are typically, I want to share data with departments who don't have access to iManage, aka corporate legal counsel.
Yeah.
I want to share iManage content with customers, with my client extranet that I'm hosting for my client. So in those cases, you can't have an implicit permission because they would never be able to access. So in SharePoint, we give that option to have yes or no for permission so that you have the ability to apply permissions or not. In this case, I'm not going to apply permissions because I'm trying to share content with my inter-department users. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and select all on this side, select all on this side. We have a nice little kind of bi-directional synchronization going on here. So let's say start. That's it. Now, often I get asked these questions when I do these demos is, look, that's great, but we have thousands of SharePoint sites and thousands of teams. We're not going to do this one by one. we have some good news here. So you can do a bulk upload of jobs using a bulk capability, or you can use a provisioning API, which will be my next demo, where you can actually provision all this stuff automatically as part of your Meta onboarding process or Meta provisioning process.
Yeah, I think that's really important, right? Like you said, no one wants to do one SharePoint site at a time. People have thousands. Raghav, while we're waiting for that to sync, do we want to do a couple more poll questions for the audience? I think we have a couple on SharePoint.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's open it up. Let's open up a couple of SharePoint questions. Yeah. Okay. And while we wait for a response, yeah, go ahead, Lisa. Yeah.
I'm just looking for the questions, so hang on. Okay. Let's see how we're doing. Okay, so how do you currently share legal documents with clients or partners using SharePoint? I'm seeing a lot of SharePoint client extranets. I think we talked about that.
Yes.
Yeah. And then let's see, I see some HiQ users here, and then some people that are not looking to share documents at all. Do you think, Raghav, that people are not looking to share documents because with SharePoint because they don't have this functionality? Like maybe this technology is not, they're not aware of it, so they don't know they can do it, right? So maybe that will change their minds there, right?
Possibly, yes. So obviously, there's some dominant players when it comes to sharing data from, your sharing data with your clients, like, for example, HiQ, some of the responses, right? But we at KLSC, we are basically challenging that, age-old technologies. We recommend to customers or law firm customers that leverage the licenses you currently own. You already own SharePoint. You already own OneDrive for Business. With a proper sync technology, imDocShare Sync or some other competitor products, you have the ability to bring that content and serve that content through the technologies you already own. With Microsoft, like technology like Microsoft Purview, with security, permissions, all that kind of in compliance. So we would request people who are using those other technologies to share data outside to leverage what you currently own, which is Microsoft OneDrive Business, SharePoint, Teams, and so on.
Yeah. A good point. And then this other poll question I have, how would you like to leverage SharePoint document libraries or lists when integrating with iManage Work Server/Cloud? I think the most popular answer there was mirror iManage Workspace in SharePoint. So you could do the whole workspace, Raghav?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So that's a great question. So if I go back to this specific job here, you would see that if I can simply click on this workspace, and I can go select all, right? Obviously, exercise caution when you do that because you could have possibly gigabytes, if not terabytes of data in that workspace. So you are bringing all that content over to SharePoint, and you may not need that. But saying that, that option does exist. You can synchronize one entire workspace or folders within the workspace or a specific document within that folder in that workspace.
Right, so maybe we don't want to sync the emails, right? That's probably the thing we should avoid, I would guess. Right. And then, Raghav, there's another popular answer is draft and co-author in SharePoint, right? So that seems to be really popular. And then push the final version to iManage. I like that option. So I think you mentioned that a little bit earlier, how you could...
Yeah, we handle version history, correct.
You talked about a major version, right? Maybe we should readdress that, right? So people are co-authoring in SharePoint and they're just using Microsoft 365. It's when they close the document is when you create the major, what you call a major version in iManage.
Correct. Okay. Yeah, we do not synchronize drafts. Yeah. Terrific.
Wow. So I really like that. And let's talk about scale. A lot of firms are looking to automate. They don't want to, like you said earlier, they have lots of SharePoint sites, or maybe they don't have lots of SharePoint sites, but they just want to automate this whole process. Can you talk a little bit about how imDocShare can automate the process for firms?
Absolutely, yeah. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to quickly have this on the screen while I talk through this. So provisioning is a game-changing product that we have. just in the last 6 months, we were heads up against some of our immediate competitors for lifecycle management of Teams, and frankly, we are the only tool that does Teams and SharePoint, but mostly for Teams, there are 2 other products out there. And we've won every one of them. And part of the reason being provisioning basically does a 360 on our imDocShare suite in terms of how it can help you manage the lifecycle of the team creation and your SharePoint extranet creation. So with a provisioning product, you can basically templatize the whole process. You can basically create templates that defines the structure of the team. And you can select the template when you actually request for a team, when you, meaning an administrative assistant or the practice person who's responsible for creating or managing the teams for their practice, or IT for that matter, you have the ability to basically automatically create templates that loads the structure for the team. So it has a specific structure, every channel, like a specific number of channels and maybe a sync job for specific channels and so on and so forth. You can completely templatize that with our tool. So once you have the provisioning process in place, you can basically, all the stuff that I showed you with our sync job creation, that can be completely automated. So for example, if I can show you quickly in the limited time we have, for example, if I go in and request for a team to get created as part of this specific client matter that I just onboarded in iManage, and by the way, we also support creating the iManage workspace as well through the tool if the workspace does not exist. And I can go ahead and select my team template. You can see here I have a number of team templates, and as soon as I select a template for that practice, automatically loads up the structure for it. And I have the ability to kind of pick and choose which channel I actually have a sync job for. For example, there's a specific channel here called shared. This is a very cool concept in Teams. With shared channels, you can have a private team where you can share just a channel with your customer. So second, you have to second guess, why do I need a third-party software just to share documents with my team? I can do that through SharePoint Online, of course, with the right strategy, with the right Azure B2B setup and all that stuff. Or I can use a shared channel. So with a shared channel, I can simply, just to kind of do a full circle in the sync part, I can enable the create sync and automatically have it synchronized with some content that I might want to share with my customer. Let's say I want to synchronize everything in there. I can just say synchronize everything in there, and I can go ahead and create it. So with a provisioning engine, you have the ability to create teams in a structured way based on practice, based on template type and whatnot. SharePoint sites in a structured way that are automatically synchronized with with that specific iManage library. So you don't need to worry about, oh, I have this workspace, this folder that I want to share with my customer. How do I do that? Do I use share file? Do I use this? Do I use that? No. You can simply use SharePoint, set up in the proper way for external sharing, and have the iManage content synchronized with the document library. And you can choose bi-directional one way. So again, awesome. So with the provisioning tool is phenomenal. Obviously, we have limited time on this webinar, but if there is interest, we can absolutely continue talking, or you guys can respond to the poll. We'll open up in a minute. And once you have the request automatically approved, you can manage the entire team's infrastructure right from a provisioning tool, from renaming of the team to archival of the team. So basically,
I think the archiving feature is really a good thing to highlight, because not every provisioning tool out there will actually do the archiving piece for you. So I think that's great that you've added that.
And we also archive chats. We archive chats. We archive attachments from the chat. So you're not just embedding images with the attachment. The attachments are stripped out from the chat and archived into iManage for record-keeping purposes as well.
Terrific. Raghav, I know we only have a few minutes left. I think I may have started a poll for you. You'll have to tell me if I did or I didn't. What the question I have here is, yeah, I did. So when provisioning I'm learning how to use your webinar. When provisioning a new matter with workspaces and imDocShare provisioning, which team lifecycle strategy do you find most valuable? And we have a tie between template-driven team creation and shared channel support. I'm a big fan of shared channel support as well. That's pretty hard to say pretty quickly. So that looks like the top two, but the other answers are also getting some great feedback. I like bulk managed provisioning, right? So that's really great, just full automation.
Awesome.
Raghav, I don't know, do we want to hit, like, I know that we're right at time. I know we have some really good questions. We may want to just answer just one of these questions. So,
Sure.
so Sam asked this really good question. Do you do a checkout from iManage when working in Teams to prevent accidental overwrites? I call them document collisions. I like that question. Maybe we can answer that before we thank everyone for this, for attending today.
Absolutely, yeah. So with our sync tool, we automatically synchronize checkout status. We call it a technical term, but basically, if you're working in iManage, you've checked out the document, you do not want the document to be edited in Teams or SharePoint if you're doing bidirectional sync. So we automatically propagate. We move the checkout status into SharePoint and Teams so that nobody can work in SharePoint or Teams. And we do the same thing from SharePoint Teams. If you're co-authoring in SharePoint or Teams, we propagate the checkout. We copy the checkout status to iManage so nobody can work in iManage while you're co-authoring in Teams.
Got it. And then one last question. Jennifer wants to know, do you support iManage synchronization with OneDrive for business content?
100%. Yeah, this is a very popular, so as I said before, Microsoft 365 ships a lot of cool services, which law firms really need to kind of think about why they need all those third-party file sharing techniques. If you're using OneDrive for Business, you can absolutely use imDocShare Sync to do a bi-directional synchronization, which, by the way, OneDrive is a private repository for attorneys. You don't have access to somebody's OneDrive because it's private by design. So you set up a sync job, or the attorney can set up their own sync job using a OneDrive Sync desktop app with iManage. So they can synchronize the personal workspace, or they can synchronize a specific folder from a workspace and take it with them while they're traveling right within their OneDrive briefcase.
Yeah, I like the personal workspace idea. That's terrific. So, Raghav, I think we're at time. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. If you want to continue the conversation, Raghav, we have a slide where we have a QR code for everyone if they wanted to potentially schedule a, yeah, there we go. If you're interested in a personalized demo, or you want to explore more of what imDocShare could do, we really didn't have enough time to show you all the bells and whistles. You can reach out to the team using the webinar or the email or even call us if you want to use your phone. I don't think anybody does that anymore. Yeah. So, yeah, thank you everyone so much. It was really great to have you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.